YouTuber, tech, 3D printing, ADHD in general. And my boy Joel, I'll let him tell you all about himself right now.
You guys, I'm Joel. I'm known as the 3D printing nerd on the YouTubes, and I do 3D printing, tips, tricks, reviews, and sometimes I like to collaborate with guys like Jerry here.
And you have a very sexy radio voice. I'm sorry, but my voice is actually kind of giving out on me right now. I apologize for that. What I wanted to talk about this evening, and it's kind of a funny topic because obviously most of you in this room don't believe this is a fad. I'd have to, we get a show of hands. Does anybody think 3D printing is just a fad, a hobby, something that's just kind of silly, right?
Good.
Good. We can go home. I can just drop the mic and we're done. Well, as a YouTuber, that's probably one of the most common questions that I get. An email is, why should I buy a 3D printer? All I see people doing is printing trinkets on these things. Yeah, I know there's probably a lot of wives and girlfriends in the room right now. They're just like, yeah. So I get a lot of people that say, oh, all you can do is just download like little action figures and print. You can't do anything useful with a 3D printer, right? And have you got any of this from your audience? People going, you know, other than like just print like little trinkets, Pokemons and stuff like.
Oh, absolutely. I get comments all the time of, you know, this guy is just printing stupid things. You know, there's no use for 3D printing. I can't believe he has thousands of dollars in 3D printers and all he's printing is stupid Pikachus, right? I get that all the time, and it gets tiring having to explain to people, no, I'm not just doing that, and no, these thousands of dollars of hardware aren't just for this. But what do you tell people when they ask that?
Tell them they're stupid. No, I don't put it that. I'm not that blunt of a person most of the time, but you know, I'm about 2 Red Bulls deep right now and sleep deprived. But first of all, I would like to put one thing to rest. There is no such thing as a stupid Pikachu, okay?
Thank you.
I think I'm fair to say that. If you think Pikachu is stupid, then I don't know what the hell you're doing here. I'm just saying. But what I tell these people is they're just looking at what people do when they first get a 3D printer. So we all know the first thing you do when you get a 3D printer, you fire it up, you print like the little STL file that comes with it, or you go to Thingiverse and go, oh my god, I can print out a Pokeball. That's what I did. And you print it out and you think it's cool, but what a lot of them don't realize, as you have a 3D printer, the evolution, and a lot of you in the room that have had 3D printers for a long time can probably relate to this, you eventually hit that point where you're like, I'm going to create something useful. I'm going to fix a knob on my stove. I'm going to go and engineer some better solution to put my monitors together. I'm going to make a mount for my LEDs under my desk. You start building useful things. And you start to see an evolution of that. And a lot of people don't see that when they're going into it. It becomes a kind of a detractor. They look at it, they're like, I don't want a 3D printer because why am I spending thousands of dollars? And that's actually the first problem. Does 3D printing cost thousands of dollars now, Joel?
No, absolutely not. There are tons of YouTubers now that are showcasing printers under $300 that can achieve very, very good and usable results.
That's absolutely true. But are there still printers that are thousands of dollars?
Oh, sure, I have a few.
I know, I do too. God, I love sponsors. But the fact is, all 3D printers of all price ranges, you can actually do a lot of useful stuff. One of the biggest things that really surprised me, and I haven't, it might even be here, is e-nable in the room anywhere in here? Has anybody seen the e-nable hands? So, okay. So the e-nable hands are actually a demonstration of one of the coolest things that I've ever seen desktop 3D printers do. And that is the ability to create a hand for somebody who's disabled and has lost their fingers. And the ability to create a hand that's functional, can actually grip. And they work fantastic, and they've evolved the design over time to become better and better and better. But at the end of the day, it costs $15 to $20 in filament to create one of these hands. They did a side-by-side test versus a robotic available hand on the market that I believe is $30,000 to $50,000 for the prosthetic.
Wow.
All right, let me ask you a question. How many people here have kids? All right, how many people have kids that have a disability or dexterity issues in their hands? Okay, so dexterity issues and things like that. Well, having them be able to go outside and play in the dirt, for instance, would you let them do that with a $50,000 prosthetic that insurance isn't going to cover half of? No. Are you going to let them go outside and play in the dirt? If it breaks, you just go in and hit the button on your 3D printer and you pop out another finger and you're good. That's where I think the strength of 3D printing really comes from, is to ability to create something cheaply. And actually, a buddy of mine, Stephen Hawes, you may not know who he is, but I met him at World Maker Fair. Really brilliant guy. He actually designed an electric hand that used servos, and it ran off of muscle monitor, like little, I don't even know what you call them, like sensors on his arm. And he could use this muscle and this muscle to actually operate the thumb and fingers independently and the pressure on them. So he could have a hand that actually could pick up things very delicately and operate. The total cost of it, $200, all electronics, including the lithium battery pack, the sensors, everything. The prosthetic that can do the same thing is $80,000. So I'm pretty sure that the prosthetic companies are mad that 3D printers exist, but I think that's a lot of the stuff that people are not seeing. There's a lot of people that aren't here today that are normal people, that are nerds like Joel and I and all of you guys, that really don't see how useful 3D printing is and what they can actually do. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Yes, I do. And part of our charge as people who are passionate about 3D printing is then to educate people and to further the cause of 3D printing and to showcase to them how valuable the tool is, especially for the e-nable hands.
Yes.
For people that say it's just trinkets that are being printed, like you were mentioning, it's an introductory thing.
I get it a lot, and I'm not even kidding. I would say conservatively, I get 10 to 30 emails a month. Even today, after people have watched me 3D print several things. Now, granted, I do 3D print a lot of trinkety things, but who doesn't like trinkets? Anyways, I digress. I'm just saying that I do get this question a lot. People are like, "Why are you buying 3D printers? These are dumb. Why aren't you spending your money on stuff that like furthers humanity or things like that?" And what I don't understand, it does further humanity and make trinkets.
Oh, absolutely. People don't realize that everybody is going to get into 3D printing for one reason or another. And if it happens to be the trinkets or the little Pikachus that everybody's printing, or the baby Groots or the hairy lions or the pangolins or whatever the print of the month is, if that introduces someone into this technology and then they happen to be the ones that take the next breakthrough in it, then trinkets are what powered this moving forward. And you don't want to remove, why would you ever make fun of or remove a way for someone to get interested in a technology? It just doesn't make any sense. And I don't think people realize that deep down. They see these trinkets as a waste of plastic rather than an educational platform. They see these trinkets as a way of making problems rather than people learning how to create solutions for problems that don't even yet exist. And when you talk about it like that, it seems easy, right? Most people, when you talk to them about it in that way, they start to think differently. You may even get them on your side. You may get them as advocates in this, and then their charge as advocates in this technology will be to further the cause and talk to more people. And like you said, the e-nable hands, it's great because once you talk to these people that may not be on board, and you tell them about the Pikachus or the gateway into this technology, then you can bring up useful things like e-nable hands, low-cost prosthetics for children in third world countries and developing nations where they can't even afford high-priced medical devices. And you talk about fixing things around the house.
That's a big one.
And you talk about being able to use this as a platform for verifying learning CAD programming. And it starts to become a really easy path of explanation, saying, this is really cool, and here's why, and you'll start to get more people on board. I mean, telling people here 3D printing is cool is easy because everybody's here because
show of hands. Who thinks 3D printing is cool?
Everybody.
Lies.
Almost everybody raised their hand. That was really great.
I think the rest weren't paying attention.
So, in real life, do you get asked, is 3D printing okay, or should I get a printer, or what's the use of printing? I know you get emails, but do you witness any of this in real life?
Absolutely. I would say almost as frequently as I get the emails. A lot of people say, oh, I watched you for your 3D printing videos. And this is the ironic thing that kind of shocks me, is a lot of you guys have come up to me today and said, I bought a 3D printer because of you. And then I kind of like look away a little bit like, oh man, I really hope you had a good experience, or I really hope you didn't have any problems and you're printing it on me. That's my natural reaction. But then after I let that cover and I can't find an exit in the room, I face you and I see that's cool, but then I get the people that come to me and say, I really enjoy watching your 3D printing videos, but I don't know what 3D printing to get. It looks really difficult. And it's kind of intimidating sometimes when you look at it, because you're like, okay, it doesn't quite look like an inkjet printer where you're just like, print this and it pops out. But it wasn't like that in the beginning. We all know that. Like going back to the plywood, like the Ultimakers, first generation CNCs, even there's a teething pain that lies in the hardware and the software and mating the two technologies together. And which leads me actually to another topic that I want to talk about too. It's how much software drives this. This is a hugely software-driven product. If you look at a 3D printer, it's very basic. It's incredibly basic. A 3D printer is just 3 axes. If it's a delta, you still have 3 motors moving 3 things, slightly different. But at the end of the day, it's a motor moving either forward or backwards based on some mathematical code that's in there. But then you have a community that's supporting the software. Like, is everybody here familiar with like the software that most of the 3D printers run, the open source like Marlin software, right? Or most of the derivative software from it. The improvements to that software can yield faster prints, better prints, without changing the base hardware at all. And we've seen this evolution. I remember when I got my very first printer, it was an old Ultimaker plywood original. It literally looked like it was made in a shed. And it looked kind of like, I want to say it kind of looked like a MakerBot cupcake, like the old one, before Brie Pettis got all like, I want all the money and ran off with everybody's intellectual property. But I won't get into that. But that printer it printed okay, but as printing got better, I noticed the firmware on these things started driving improved print quality, because people are like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of slop in the Z-axis. We're just going to do some deceleration, slow that down a little bit, so it's not as aggressive. We're going to change things on the speed and how we extrude things. Are slight minor changes to the temperature and ways that you can calibrate it. Now we got auto calibration. How many people here use auto calibration? Before auto calibration, I would say that was the like game changer in 3D printing. I'm looking at you, Steve. See me CNC? Yeah, that's right, V3. I'm happy that you guys finally implemented it, because auto leveling on a 3D printer, I think, is the biggest deterrent to people that just get into 3D printing. Like, have you ever noticed that do you have family members that bought a 3D printer that call you for tech support? No, you are lucky. Unfortunately, I do have several family members that went and bought 3D printers because I told them to. And they're like, I keep printing in like 5 layers and it unsticks, and then it sticks to the nozzle, and then it consumes the nozzle, and then it smolders, and it's gonna burn my house down. And I'm like, did you put any glue down on the bed? Yeah, I put glue down. Did you put any tape down? Yeah, I put tape down. It's not working. Did you level the bed? Huh? I mean, in one of them, like, God bless my sister, but yeah, it came down. It was like this far off the bed, just shooting spaghetti out of the glass, and somehow she expected it.
She was making art.
But she was making art. She was making art. No, and we've all had that art. If you've gotten into 3D printing, everybody in this room has made unexpected art, right? We're just gonna call that like the spaghetti ball, as we like to call it. But the software has improved. The auto leveling now is literally a click and print experience. It goes in, it figures out the difference. Again, a software game, right? It's not moving the build plate. I mean, there's some of the earlier versions did, but it's not moving the build plate. It's just making minor little changes in where it thinks it's supposed to start and where it's supposed to end. And those are all software things. So if you buy a printer today, don't think it's going to be the same printer that you have today. It's not. It's going to evolve. And the nice thing is, if it runs something like an open source firmware, it's not a closed platform like using the Marlin firmware, you're going to see advances from the community. It's going to build that. You're just automatically going to start seeing these gains and seeing these features. And then you start seeing companies do all kinds of stuff like dual extrusion and exotic things. Like I saw, oh gosh, can't remember the name of it. The thing takes 3 different filaments and actually cuts them and puts them together.
Four, it's the palette.
The palette, it takes 4?
Yep.
Where it's like figuring out how to like trim and splice filament and feed them through a Bowden tube perfectly so they align, so they arrive at the tip. And it's magic to me. That's like unicorn and smoke, honestly, how that thing works. But it's flawless, and you start seeing that now. It's like color printing is possible. I've seen some other experiments where people have been injecting dyes from standard inkjet printers into white PLA and creating colored 3D printers. Now we have recycling. How many people here have had somebody say, you are wasting tons of plastic? You are killing Mother Earth with your 3D printer. Now you have people like Phyllis Druder and other companies that are creating mechanisms for reclaiming that filament back into usable filament. And I can't remember, there's a couple guys coming into that market, right?
That's still an emerging market, right? It's more proof of concept for home-based filament recycling, but it's a start. Just like how 3D printing started as a home-based, as a home-based.
What's going on there?
I don't know. Just like how 3D printing started at the home, people just experimenting.
Here, move your cell phone away. It might be there.
That's it.
Try now.
Maybe.
Who's doing our audio? Is there any audio levels in
I
here?
think there is.
But just stay further away from it. It'll be fine.
So,
Print a new one! Yeah, I like that.
So what I'm saying, part of the reason why you talk.
Is my voice better? Apparently Joel has some fillings that we don't know about. Here, it's okay, I got you. Here, go ahead to the top.
Part of the reason that 3D printing succeeded is because of the people in their garages experimenting actually doing the work to get it off the ground. That's where the home-based filament recycling is. And so eventually it'll be where 3D printing is today.
Yeah.
And what's great is when it's where 3D printing is today, 3D printing is going to be a lot further along, and we're going to have these great printers, great software driving things. So it's just an evolution of the technology.
Yeah, and another great thing is as more people get 3D printers and it becomes more prevalent, you're going to start having programs with your local recycler and everything like that that's going to know how to reclaim these materials. And you won't need a fill extruder because your waste management system will have a very giant, very expensive taxpayer picking up the bill fill extruder that then makes your filament that they gladly sell back to you and keep all the money. But anyways, we won't talk about that. You know, we're just talking about, I think that as a group, as a community, we all need to educate people that 3D printers are not just a fad. They're not. They're here to stay. As far as I'm concerned, they're the new industrial revolution. Could anybody here raise their hand if they agree that 3D printing honestly is going to be the next industrial revolution? It's going to enable people to create things that otherwise would have taken months or years in a matter of days. It would have taken wealthy people millions of dollars. Can now do it for hundreds of dollars. I think that is a big deal. And I think that's the message that as a community we need to share to everybody, and we need to literally bait our family members into buying 3D printers so they will stop asking us to print their trinkets. Okay? That's the number one thing that drives me absolutely nuts. I get so many emails from my family and fans, dude, hey, I found this thing on Thingiverse, can you print it for me? I'm like, no, but you can print it yourself. Here's a 3D printer, go buy it.
That's when you replied, no, 3D printing is dead, it's just a fad.
I don't necessarily disagree with it in that situation only. But I think it's safe to say that Joel and I, we are stuck on 3D printing forever. Joel, how many 3D printers do you have at last count?
25.
Okay, that's a little bit more than last time I talked to you there, big boy. I'm not gonna lie, I only have 7 3D printers and I feel woefully inadequate in your presence. But I did give a couple of them away to good cause, so I think that kind of gives me some street cred, right? A little bit hard? Okay, so I did do that. But I would like everybody in this room, honestly, to talk publicly, talk to your friends, talk to your families about additive manufacturing in general, and tell them if they buy a printer, please don't get one that's a lockdown platform that's owned by a company like Stratasys. And I'm sorry, Stratasys, if you're in the room, I apologize. Not really. Yeah, I don't think they'd be here to rap. But you know, they sneak in sometimes, those little buggers. But I want everybody in here to support the developers that are creating the software, support the people that are creating the hardware, and know that this is a huge community effort. One of the coolest things about this event, and this event was like a last minute thing for me. Thank you, CNC, for flying me out. And thanks for the free t-shirt. I love it. But one of the things I see in this room is there's a lot of what can be considered competitive companies listed up here. And I haven't seen a single fist fight yet. I haven't seen anybody like throw a printer off a desk. I haven't seen anybody kick anybody in the throat. This has been a really chill event. And everybody, I mean, honestly, I've seen like 4 3D printer manufacturers all behind the same table within throwing distance. Like, and for that, that's what I really love about this community is I don't see any negativity. I don't see anybody pointing the finger at the other guy. Say it's like, you know, we got Ultimaker sitting here and CNC. I didn't see you guys punch each other, give you bad glares or nothing. It's been a great experience. I've absolutely loved it. Oh, we got a hug back there. Oh, see, this is a loving community. So Joel, is there any final thoughts that you would like to share before we tell these people about our YouTube channel and require them to subscribe to us so that we get all the ad revenue? Do not think about running ad block. But if you do, I won't be too mad. Thank you.
Here, I'll just talk over here.
Yeah.
Here we go. Part of the reason why I'm on YouTube doing 3D printing, I was inspired by Jerry, I was inspired by Tom. It really struck a chord with me, and I loved it. And I'm able to, using my audience and my reach to hopefully educate and advocate and just get more people into 3D printing, get more questions from people who have questions about it, who want to get into 3D printing. I think that if you ever have someone who's asking you questions about it and you don't know the answer, don't hesitate to reach out to Jerry or to myself or people in the community, because that's what it is. We're a 3D printing community. We're here to uplift the technology and we're here to advocate for it. So never be afraid to reach out. We're pretty easily found, aren't we?
We live on social media, dude. Yeah. Some would say it's unhealthy. A psychiatrist would probably tell us it's going to lead to deep nested problems. But it's okay. It's to your benefit. So it's all good. So I would like to wrap up by saying, everybody, Stick with your 3D printing. Companies, back them up, support them, support the software. Do we have any software developers in the room? See, actually, that's great. That's great. I come from a software development background myself. For those of you that don't know, I spent 15 years at Microsoft as a senior software developer on the Windows project and helped ship code in every version of Windows, from Windows XP all the way up through Windows, well, I don't want to say 2010 because you all roast me, but let's just say 2008 plus, okay? let's just leave it there so I don't get barbecued by that one.
It explains a lot.
It does, doesn't it? It really does. But don't blame me. Do not blame me for Windows 10, please. I would really appreciate that. But if you're a software developer, get involved in the open source projects. Improve the firmwares for these 3D printers. Don't be afraid to share your ideas, experiment, and force us to throw away all of our good 3D printer filament because you made a bad mistake. Because in the end, you're going to make a better product. You're going to support everybody. And we love you all. Isn't that right, Joel?
Always. Nothing but love.
Always. And I would like to take the moment to remind everybody, all of the sponsors and everything that are hanging out, stick around. There's some stuff going on afterwards. Everybody else, tacos. There's tacos. There are tacos somewhere. I have on good authority. There's tacos.
Jerry, it's in the AG building.
The AG building.
And it is not at the Chinese buffet like Eventbrite says. It is at the AG building.
Okay, guys, do not go to the Chinese buffet. Hopefully 100 of you didn't like poke out early. Oh man, I'm getting that buffet early. But yeah, tacos, AG building. Everybody break. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Everybody, it's been a pleasure being at this event. I want to thank each and every one of you for showing me really cool technology that honestly I haven't even seen.
There's so much cool stuff here. That's why it's 2 days, so you can hopefully see the rest of it tomorrow.
Yeah, if I wake up. All right, take it easy, guys. And hold on. And make sure you follow this guy, 3D Printing Nerd. He's got the coolest URL ever.
3D.pn will get to me, or you can just search 3D printing on YouTube. I'm the first hit.
I can't believe you got 3D.pn. For me, you got to type a couple extra letters. Barn Nerd, like where I was raised, nerd.com. All right, take it easy, guys.
You guys want to say anything to Facebook Live?
I do. Hi, Facebook Live. I'm Joel. I just talked with Jerry, aka Barnacules. It was a real privilege. The man smells of unicorn tears, and it's almost like he ingests baby otters to stay alive, young and healthy. I think that he drinks only the purest water from streams north of the U.S.-Canada border. He ferments his own whiskey, and he only feeds it to mother wolves from dens down south. So thank you very much.